Good evening and welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton and Adam here as we are, for 199 weeks now, buddy. Next week's show is 200, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Somehow, we are all straight-laced, and the minute we go on the air, something stupid makes me laugh with the last 2 seconds of the countdown, but it's good. It always brings us in with a smile. Welcome, everybody, to the program. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm all right, man. My voice is still not quite back. That was the longest cold I've ever had, and that was awful. And it's going around. So, folks, try to avoid it. Take your vitamins. Clinton, don't leave your house.
I'm trying not to, before we get any further, I'm looking at this hat. I finished put this on for our buddy Greg. Christmas is coming up. Dirt Track Nation. Go there, get some cool stuff. He's got some great designs. Let's talk about that, though, Adam. That leads us into one of our first topics. Can you wear your own merch? So we want to talk about that in a second. We're going to welcome Daniel Bois to the program, who is racing with NASCAR Pinty Series and a driver coach here in Canada. He's been on the show before. We'll talk about catchphrases and cheese, Orange County Fair, High Limit Sprint Car Series. We've got all kinds of stuff to discuss here today. But on next week's 200th show, who would you like us to get? We'll reach out to our connections in the racing world. Be realistic. Let us know who you might like to hear from, and we'll see how many of our friends we can roll up next Tuesday to shoot the shit with us for our 200th gathering here. What do you think, Adam? Anybody on your list?
Not off the top of my head. You know what I was just doing? I was doing the math in my head. That's more than 4 years worth of shows. Now, I know 200 weeks isn't quite 4 years, but we do take weeks off now and then. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, we've been here pretty much since right before the pandemic, and we've been going at it all the way since. It's been a fun ride. We appreciate everybody coming out. I think for us, these shows are a bit tougher for us because we don't get the weekly feedback that we do with the races. And what I mean by that is the encouragement to keep it up. Everybody telling us how much they enjoy the show, and I know you and I always are surprised that how many people come up and talk to us. So before we get into Daniel Bois, who's already on the line, the question today, questions are, can you wear your own merchandise? So can Clinton Geoffrey wear his own Clinton Geoffrey sprint car t-shirt? Is that cool? Is that uncool? What you say, Adam, before the fans have their check-in?
Well, you've asked too many questions. Is it cool? Is it uncool? Can you do it? Can you do it? Yes. Are you a complete dick if you do it? Yes. Don't wear your own merch.
So you're calling out a big portion of the racing world right now and saying they shouldn't wear your own merch? Well, I'm not naming names. You're stepping into that pie on your own, buddy. Let's bring Daniel Bois and let's see what he says. Feel free to continue your thoughts, Adam. Daniel's just going to jump in. This ain't nothing too far-fetched. Oh, the other thing before we get too far with Daniel, we are going to have Phil Givens on to talk about pure stocks and the state of affairs here in Ontario as well. Yeah. Daniel, welcome to the show, bud.
I was just chucking my hat out of the room. I didn't want Adam to see it.
You know what's funny?
I did hear the hats are allowed, though.
I come out with an opinion. I never knew this. I only knew this when Connor was working with the Burger Barn team and with the Turner team, and he was running hobby cars. So we had some shirts done up for him. But he was already warned. You don't show up wearing your own shirts. It's just something you do not do. So I never knew that was a thing until I learned it from Connor.
Oh, I'm guilty of it for sure because, I think when you're at a certain level of motorsports, like, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, I think they look a little silly wearing their own stuff. But when you're just, a local guy like me, you're proud of it. So you show it off.
But, good point.
There's so many layers of this onion, as we would say, too, though, because, team gear is okay, but if it has Daniel Bois and your face on it, that's a different thing, though, right, Adam? Like, where are the layers here? Like, I'm okay with them wearing, a team uniform or team gear.
Yeah, you have to represent your team. Yeah, clearly.
But Daniel cannot say Daniel Bois or no image of the shirt. Where do you draw the line there, Adam? We need to let him know.
The line was erased back in the 80s when I think it was Joe Ruttman had Slender U underalls on his car. When someone pays you money to wear their apparel, and you come out sporting slender U underalls, which is basically pantyhose, right? That's when the line got erased. Because if someone's willing to pay, you better put it on your shirt.
He took that way off the deep end. Anyways, Daniel, how are you doing, buddy? Welcome to the program. The reason we have you on, not to celebrate your recent birthday last week, but happy birthday.
Thank you.
You took the whole team down to North Carolina, multiple cars, to go to Roush Yates, I saw. Tell us a bit about that. Where does that come together? I guess for the Pinty's fans in the room, that shows you're doubling down and you ain't going anywhere, and you're taking your program even more seriously than you would in the past. So tell us how it came about and what you did last week.
Yeah, there's a few different layers to why we did that, but it's actually not Roush Yates. We were at Robert Yates Racing, and two different entities, and we run a spec motor in our series, but they've been bringing in a new motor that they call the 525, which is supposed to help with the cost of our motor program. And we've essentially been the test team for that motor. So we ran it at a couple races last year. We ran it at Sunset, iCar, and Oswego. And we were very, very happy with the motor. And we've been learning throughout the year with a lot of testing and things like that. Where I felt like I struggled was actually with our old spec motor. We had a ton of problems with it. A lot of them were induced. That was just new team. We were learning a lot of things, and we found a few issues with it. But that was my team owners are phenomenal, and they made the decision that let's just put both cars in the trailer with both different motor packages in them, take it down to Robert Yates Racing Engine, work closely with their team to figure out where we made the mistakes in installation of the motor, how it was sitting in the car, different angles, because I was feeling vibrations throughout the year as well that kind of distracted me from the task at hand. So we went down there. We found a bunch of issues in the car that we didn't realize we had. We took it over to Tricon, which is a Truck Series team, formerly David Gilliland's team, and we worked closely with their engine dyno guys there, and we tested both motors, both cars, and like I said, we found lots of improvements. And like you said, my team owners are doubling down. They said that's enough messing around. Let's try to figure out what our issues are there. And then when we bring the cars back, we know our motor program is as good as it's been. And now we just have to get to work on chassis setup, things like that. And just try to run better. We want to be up there closer to the front. We are a small team, but we definitely are going to put the effort in to try to keep up with the big boys.
What's the return on investment, Daniel, for going down there and doing all that testing? Because really, speed was not your issue. You had a fast race car, it seemed to me, or competitive at least.
Yeah, in our opinion, not quick enough for it. We were fast, but we still feel like we were missing something. I'm obsessive with watching back all my video and things like that, and I could just see I was losing something up the straightaway. Whether it was gearing, whether it was couldn't get off the corner properly, whether it was me making mistakes. That's what we went through, inch by inch. We break it down and try to figure it out. And we did feel like there was something we were losing down the straightaway, like any driver would complain about. We felt like we were lacking in power, and we ended up finding what we thought, but there's more to be found. But as for a return on investment, you're not making any money, obviously.
No, but I mean the investment of time, that's a long way to take a couple of race cars to find.
Yeah, the way the guys look at it is the investment they put into this program to get it up and running, to be where we want to be. Why not go down and invest in the team even more and do it? Like, stop messing around and go for it, right? We always said we don't necessarily want to run all the races. We don't really want to run for a full year. I just don't have the ability to do it with my job and the two team owners with their businesses. So we said, if we're only going to run 5, if we're only going to run 8 races, whatever it's going to be, we want to be at the sharp end of the field. And if we're not, what's the problem? Is it me? Is it the car? What is it? And we'll figure it out. And if it's me, we'll find somebody that can fill the seat and do a better job. If it's not me, we'll figure it out with the car, and we'll get the car better.
Daniel, I guess my question follow up to Adams was along that same line, was along with return on investment. You said you found what you thought was the problem. So does that mean, it's something you guys adjusted and came back with already? Did you find the numbers to make the improvements, or where you can be like, where are you at on the way out of there?
Yeah, we're very happy with where we ended up when we loaded the cars back up on the trailer and brought them back home to Canada. One thing our motor guy said is, don't get too hung up on numbers, because numbers could lie. You got to see how it is in the real world situation. But what we found was just the consistency that we wanted didn't fall off the way we thought it was going to, or like the way you don't want it to. The vibrations that I felt all year, we got those out of the car. Just a bunch of things like that. But at the end of the day, the numbers were better as well too. So
I just got to follow up on that. Sorry, Adam. Now, when you said you got the vibration on the car, I saw you had it on a rear wheel dyno. Is that what's going on? Because you guys aren't out road testing, so you really have to get this thing up to speed. So does that mean when you set up, you're starting to feel it even on the rear wheel dyno, and then at the end of the day, you got rid of it?
Yeah. So what we ended up finding was, all last year under acceleration, when I got, usually third gear, fourth gear, it would chatter my teeth, the car, with our spec motor, which was our primary car. So we went looking into that and trying to figure out where it was. We eliminated the fact that it was in the front end of the car. And then we went to work on the back end of the car, and we felt the vibration, and then they remedied what they thought it was and ended up fixing it. And then both cars, we brought them up to 160 miles an hour on the dyno, and you shut the car down completely. And on the decel, there's 0 vibration, and on the acceleration, there was a slight vibration. So that's how we could tell it was under throttle when it wasn't a roll speed thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
How hard is it, Daniel, to race part-time? In a series that only runs 12 to 14 races as it is, how hard is it to get up for these races and be competitive when you've only got a handful of chances? So any mishap, you've ruined 20% of your chance to win a race or finish on the podium of a race when you're only running 5 or 6 shows.
Yeah, there's a few different ways I could look at it. Yes, if something happens that cuts, that's a big part of my season that I miss out on. But the way I look at it is, for a small team, it gives us that much more time to properly prepare. And I know we're going to come to the track with a polished bullet, and not one that we had to piece together to get from one race to the next. So that, if I want to take the glass half full approach, it's, we know we'll have a properly prepared car. And even down to, there's a very short turnaround last year from iCar to Mosport the next week. Having the ability to go to our backup car at iCar and run that car with the 525 and, pretty much a different suspension setup in that car as well, to our primary car at CTMP. So that really helps us as well, being a small team, not having to worry about that crazy turnaround, right?
Daniel, let's switch to the business of racing a bit here. There's a lot of questions with the Pinty's situation there and the business end of it, as I mentioned. They've said this week would be schedule release. We're hearing it possibly could come out tomorrow. My question for you is, obviously don't get any of the three of us here involved in the series in any trouble by letting you know anything we're not supposed to let out that we may already know. But, how much input do you as teams have with the series as far as traveling out west adding races, traveling to the east, all the things that come into the schedule, are they consulting with you guys on a regular basis? Because I have it in a different capacity as a track, right? So that we're let into some of the stuff as a speedway that's part of the series. But as drivers, are you having symposiums or meetings or anything like that on the side that's giving you guys the input and your say in the deal?
I wouldn't say a ton. Like we obviously have our opinions and we voice them to, the higher ups, whether or not they listen to us or not. That's I don't know. I haven't been around it long enough. I know we've been very lucky to work very closely with NASCAR when it comes to some of the, the brake packages, the new brake packages that are coming out, the motor, things like that. And they seem to work very closely with us and respect our opinions on that. But with us being not a full-time team, we don't have a ton of pulling power there that I know of. But I don't know any of the big teams that have a huge amount of power on what the schedule is and what we can do. And, if it was up to me, there's tons of places I would want to go and things I would want to do. But, I don't know how much clout I have in the sport yet to be able to lean somebody one way or the other. And same with our two team owners are brand new to racing. So, we could voice our opinions, whether or not we're heard. We don't know, to be honest.
Well, let's go there, Daniel, because we just had one of our viewers ask, are there tracks that you would rather race? So where would you love to see the series go?
Obviously I'd love to see Montreal. Never had a chance to race there. It's kind of a bucket list thing for, any, driver that considers themselves a road race, specialist. Obviously I grew up racing ovals, but I've made a career of racing on the road courses. So, Montreal would definitely be very, very high up on my list. Another track I love is I've had a chance to go out to Area 27 a few times and do some stuff out there, but just the logistical nightmare it would be to get everybody out there would be, a huge undertaking. But as for track, it would be amazing. Another one I would love to see is Watkins Glen. It is out of Canada, but if we were able to go to New Hampshire with the series, I don't see why we can't go to Watkins Glen as a support series for one of the bigger series.
That'd be awesome.
I think NASCAR fans in the U.S. would go nuts for our style of road racing. I think they absolutely would. Another fan question is, do you miss racing the Can-Am midgets? How much did you enjoy running those cars?
Oh, that's I love those cars. Long history with them. My dad raced in the series, and my best friend and who works on the team now, James Gray, raced in the series as well. And I miss those cars. I love them. Every once in a while, I'll get a chance to get back in one. I'm also good friends with Dan Hahn, who races in the series as well. So anytime he has an open seat, I will bug him and see if he'll put me in. And yeah, I'd love to run a couple races next year if schedule lines up and Dan has a car or somebody else has a car. I'd love to get back in them. They're amazing. I find those cars are like going back to the old school way of racing where there's not a huge rules package. So the most creative guy, the most, innovative person could really find something in a car. I was lucky enough to run for Cliff Walsh for so many years. And Cliff Walsh was one of those guys that could just find things. And, the next year we would have to put a rule in because Cliff found something. And that was always cool to me that we were like, hey, they got a rule because of us,
Right on. We appreciate you coming. Anything else you got for him, Adam, before we send him off for the off season here?
No, not at all, man. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for sharing what your team is up to. It's so cool to be able to have a look in to what these teams do between the last race of the year and the first race of next year.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate having me on, and anytime you need somebody to just bench race with, I'd be happy to hop on.
Awesome.
We'll be in touch. Thanks a lot, Daniel. Daniel Blah, contender of the NASCAR Pinty Series, also driver coach. on the road courses and quite a lot of experience in his folder. So always great to have Daniel on with us. So we still want to know who you want to have us on, who we should have on for show 200. Well, let's figure this out. So you can wear your own hats. Is that true? Like, can I wear a Clinton Geoffrey racing hat if it has my signature on the side? Is that all right? Like, I mean, you're not making the rules. I just want your opinion on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would. If my shirt was funny, I might wear my own shirt. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
It's part of the joke. But if it was just like Adam Ross for the sake of Adam Ross being on a shirt, I don't know.
See, I ask because, like, I'll wear our G4 stuff around, but that's, like, team crew gear. That's not, like, me or you or the Wizard. You know, speaking of the Wizard, did you see what came up this week? Rob Twitchett asked, is a hot dog a sandwich? And I referred to the Wizard who loves his hot dogs. And Twitchett's response was, don't bring your imaginary friend into this. I thought his comment was great. Unofficial poll, weigh in on, is a hot dog a sandwich? Why or why not? Boy,
Clint, we've been doing this.
If we've gone
We've
that
been
far,
doing
we're in
this
trouble.
for 199 episodes. Never in the history of this show has a graphic gone up on the screen faster than that hot dog poll. Like it hadn't even come out of your mouth yet, and Spencer had it up on the screen.
I thought you were going to say we made it to 199 shows, though, talking about wieners, but it didn't get that far.
We talked bananas, wieners.
Hey, we have a wicked Burger Barn video of the week. Spencer asked if we were making up for lost time. We have 6 videos in the Burger Barn video of the week folder this week.
Let's watch a couple of them.
Some weeks it just writes itself. I don't know what order they're in. Let's roll them, Spencer. Oh, okay. So this is a model of a track, okay? But check it out because it's all run by AI. So the cars are really racing each other. I was like, is this remote control? Or I don't know what this is, but it's a cool mini track of Monaco. I just love these little miniatures, Adam. What do you think?
Well, wait a second. If it's all done by AI, then none of it's real.
What is real?
Is this actually somebody put together, or is this all computer generated?
No, do you even know anymore? See, you just made me second guess everything. Roll that again, Spencer. So now the question is this real, like a physical thing, or is this a video someone created?
Now, Spencer thinks it's real. I see people walking around in the background But AI can do anything. See, when I look at it, like the raw wires that were on the first couple seconds there, just makes me think: would AI put in like random parts off to the side? I don't think so. But I just love the video. I think it's cool. No, it is very cool.
No,
like someone put a lot of effort into this. This is the part right here that makes me think it's real. Is that background?
Roll it just one more time, Spencer, and I'll show you what I think. Watch, there's wires at the bottom of the screen, right when it comes out. Right when it starts. Can you get Cepho track? Okay, so watch. Right, just past the window there. Right there. All those spare parts makes me think, if it was just computer. And they're actually, if you look at, they're jerry-rigged together there with a bunch of electrical tape. So, I don't know, man.
Yeah. This is the lamest thing we've ever spent this much time on.
No, I think it's cool. What are you talking about? All right, let's go to the next one then. How about a motorcycle demolition derby? With the banjo and Gary and everything. Oh, now we're fighting.
This looks like the Hippodrome of GP3R.
I so want to drive through your back wheel like that just once on a lippy day.
Yep.
One of those. Bam. Oh, and I eat it. All right, that's enough of the motorcycle demo. Okay, how about this? Turn this one up. Now, this is an alcohol-burning old dragster, but when he puts in the nitromethane, just listen to how the tone changes of this motor. It starts idling and everything. How wild is that? Love it.
I want to know what Greg the Hammer Valentine is doing sitting on the other side of that wall.
He's eating his poutine. Okay, that's enough of that one. But can you imagine? Hold on, pause it, Spencer. We're not getting there yet. Go back to us for a second. So, can you imagine sitting behind the wheel of that thing with the engine right there? Like, that is insane. What those drag guys used to do, you know.
What I can't imagine. But
listen to it. Look, it's just running alcohol now. But as soon as he kicks the nitro to it, it's done. Oh
yeah, it's mean now. How deep down the rabbit hole did you have to go to find these videos?
You know what? Just cruising around social media. It pops up on the feeds, you know? All right, get rid of that one, Spencer. Hold off the marble race, though. I got to make sure. What else we got here before we get into that?
I'm still blown away by
okay, this one.
Yes,
yeah.
I saw this one, too.
Show the marble race last. Look at these guys. Up on the cushion, rednecked, and full throttle qualifying.
And you can tell they've just built this cushion up to see who's got the biggest balls in the joint.
Roll it again, Spence.
That is a wild ride. Listen. He lifted once.
That was pretty wild. All right. So we're going to get into a segment here talking about what? Oh, yeah, this one, too. Check this out. This is like an import out of the salt flats. Okay, so I came across this somehow on the internet, and we just have our file. We just dump it all too for the Tuesday show. The guy was commenting on this, that he actually survived. That's the only reason we put this in. He was alive and talking. He goes, oh, my crash from 87 always shows up. I was like, man, that's wild.
Yeah,
anyways,
the driver's compartment of that held up nicely.
Okay, so not yet. As we get into talking about our next segment, which is catchphrases and cheese balls, and if you're a young announcer, we'll talk about that, but let all that crap go. Here's my advice, Adam. If you're a young announcer, find yourself a marble race and practice calling that. Roll it, Spencer. Or not. Okay, marble race. Practice this, Adam. I'm not even joking. All right, here we go, the marble race. Black gets the early lead. Oh, we got a contact in the one. Green's got the early lead around turn number 1, and work on it. White takes the lead. Here they come. This is awesome.
I'm going to argue with you a little bit there, Clint.
No, I called 10 races, bud. I'm telling you, it's good practice.
Wow. I noticed, and I don't like criticizing other commentators, Clinton, because everyone's got their own style. Everyone does things their own way. But if you're going to be an announcer of a top-level race or series or track or event, you need to have enough confidence and enough competence to explain what happened on the racetrack when there are incidents. And I'm talking about the World Finals at Charlotte. And there was a few occasions where the commentators would not explain what had happened. And I don't know if they were afraid to be wrong or if they're taught not to give opinions. But it bothered me, Clinton, because one thing I think everybody that we work with does very well is always treat the people you're talking to with enough respect that you'll explain things to them. Don't assume people know what's going on or how did this happen? How did this wind up this way? What caused this? You can't you don't want to talk about intent, but you have to talk about the physics of what makes a car do certain things. And Zeb Wise's flip was a great example of that. And you telling the story of your brother when he had a similar accident and the motor plate twisted, and that's what caused the throttle to hang open. Like, there's a lot of things you've got to give people the information that shows you have half a freaking clue what you're talking about.
I think my frustration is when I think it's they're, like you said, either afraid to give their opinion or they've been told to back off the opinion, whereas we encourage you and Greg and myself to say what we want as long as we're respectful, because you can't pretend that the 3,000 people sitting in the grandstands there didn't just watch what we all saw. And I mean, I've had that argument with track owners in the past. Like, you got to toe the company line. Well, no, I can't pretend that what you just did wasn't bullshit. And what you let these guys get away with was bullshit because we're all sitting here watching it. So, I nearly lost my marital job over that. But at the end of the day, it's where we were. Like, we all saw what just happened. I can't pretend it's not going on around here. And I think that frustrates me more. The other thing that pisses me off about a lot of the other streaming services is they're too afraid to show it until we know that the guy's like, and then they'll just, we know the guy's alive. Let's watch them clean it up. Why do we got to watch the car stop on the red flag on the front straight for 5 minutes?
You don't want to show something graphic. So you don't want to show a scene that might upset viewers. Maybe there's a lot of blood. Maybe there's something that's very intimate going on.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after we already know that we're not in that situation.
Shut your cake hole. That is so very rare. Show the goddamn situation. Show what's going on. Because it is extremely rare to have a sensitive issue. And I trust Spencer. I trust our producer to know that what you're looking at, you don't really want to show if a driver's head is slung down to the steering wheel. They're unconscious. Okay, show something else. If it's graphic, show something else. Otherwise, show us did you see that wreck at Orange County in the Sportsman? The cars that got hooked head first. Sure. Oh, my goodness. That was one of the worst impacts I've seen. And they showed that replay over and over.
Just back to what you're doing. Even our camera guys know, and if even young Jack here follows me around now, we go up to these crash scenes. He'll hang back. He don't run up with the camera live. We've assessed the situation. Once we know, okay, yeah, the guy might be twisted up a bit, but, nothing that Mama at home's going to be worried about. Let's go in and get the story. Before we get too much into this, we could talk about announcers for 25 years because we've been them for that long. Let's bring in Phil Gibbons now to talk about pure stocks. And Adam, you and I, every Tuesday, we talk about, who do we want to get on the show and what should we be talking about and what are some of the topics that would interest us to get some answers on. And one of the things you came up with today was the pure stock situation in Ontario. And you posed a question to me. What if they all got together and had the exact same rules across the board, including Sunset, Salvo, Flamborough, Delaware, Full Throttle, Grand Bend, wherever we're going? Can it happen, Phil?
Yeah, first off, I want to say thanks for having me, guys. You can hear me?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Perfect. I'm not good with the technology, but if we had a common rules package in Ontario, it sure would make traveling a little bit easier than it is now. It sounds like there's going to be a few tracks really close this year. Peterborough hasn't had their drivers meeting yet, but they're the ones that are actually right now the farthest ones off of everybody else.
And that's exciting, Phil, because how many tracks did you race at? Say the last 2 years in that class. How many racetracks have you run?
I've been at every single track that runs bone stocks here in Ontario. Made the changes to go to different tracks. So yeah, like I've hit them all. And honestly, I'm nothing against Peterborough. I absolutely love the place. But for us to go out on a regular season night, we got to put 100 pounds in, change all our camber, take away our race rim on the front right. It's little things like that are time. And people see that and don't want to travel.
How many cars? So Clinton, I'm gonna throw in another question. Let's pick on Sunset because they had just announced a big race next July. If the tracks are on common rules, how many pure stocks could you see show up for an event like that? You know the landscape better than we do.
Well, it's not so much just the rules. It's let's see if these tracks can get together and not book pure stocks or bone stocks on that night. Give that one to sunset, and we could have 45 cars, 50 cars. It's just we got to get the tracks working together. Give them that night. Everywhere else is off. We'd have a full field. But if the tracks aren't going to do that, you're going to get the points guys that stay home, unfortunately.
So, Phil, is this a situation where you go to your home tracks and your promoters and the place you race regularly and say, hey, look at what Sunset's doing? You know, are you going to give us that night off? Are you guys politicking to make sure that happens?
Yeah, like, we can only do so much. You're always going to have, you might have one or two stubborn track owners that want to keep that class because it is a high number class, at their track that weekend. I seen Cam Thompson tag Gary Calling in it right away. Hey, can we have this night off? But Cam's one to put it out there, and Delaware runs Friday nights, so that shouldn't be an issue. So really, you got Peterborough, Sauble now, by the sounds of it, Grand Bend, and Full Throttle. That hopefully we can, get it to work.
What's interesting to me, Phil, is you take a class where you don't have to break the bank putting a car together, which is kind of like what all the other classes were 20 years ago. Regular people could afford to run a race car and tow all over the place, but now you can kind of do that because the cost of racing is cheap. You can spend a little more on the travel. Are you ready to announce any plans for the winter yet? You kind of dropped a hint to me earlier, and I don't want to jump any guns, but I thought it was really cool. If you're not ready to tonight, we'll do it when you're ready.
We're working on something. Hopefully, it's between Wade Thorne, like the Thorne Racing guys, BT Racing, and myself. Just working some logistics to possibly do something really interesting. We just have to talk to a few more people, and we just won't announce it quite yet.
Clinton, and we hate doing this, Clinton, as a rule, but Clinton, we will follow up on this when the time comes because I think it is one of the coolest things I've heard maybe in years because it just reminds me of a throwback to what racing used to be like, and it's going to be amazing. Phil, talk about the quality of the racing in the pure stock division. I mean, I consider you a pretty darn good race car driver. Wade Thorne, fantastic race car driver. I certainly can't go down the list naming all the drivers that run everywhere, but there's some really good racers out there. How much fun is it to go out and not have to worry about losing your house because you're bending a race car?
Yeah, there's tons of racers. You could, like you said, there's a list. I could be here for an hour going off just names, but yeah, it's door to door racing. Majority of it's clean. Every track has those 10 cars that are real competitive. It showed at all the year end stuff. Like Joe Lawrence got the Frosttoberfest. I was lucky enough to finish up front there at Autumn Colors. But then when you go back to the regular racing, each track is just so stacked. All the points racing is great, fantastic racing, and it really, it's the best bang for your buck these days in racing. Car costs, trying to find these things now is getting a little more expensive, and Chris Lawrence takes about every Sunfire or Cavalier you can find for his fleet, but yeah, bang for the buck, that's the biggest thing. And it's for me, it's just like racing. I've never raced a late model, but I'm sure it's just as exhilarating as racing a late model.
My last question for you, Phil: how do we keep it cheap? What's the mistake that's gonna mess this one up? Because it's the inevitable cycle here in racing. Maybe the folks at Peterborough will say, well, letting racing rims on the cars at all is the start of the downfall. But obviously it's a safety issue. But what's going to be the thing that messes this up?
It's going to be guys that want to spend money. We run 2 cars out of our household. and we do it on a fairly cheap budget between Nicole and I. And my biggest thing for tracks is, Flamborough's got the rule package, and these other tracks are starting to follow suit with it. But freeze everything. The class is advancing too quick, and it's going to actually destroy the class, really, because all of us will be out of money before we know it. You look at mini stocks now, and it's not realistic to run them anymore.
No, you're right on. Phil, thanks for taking the time to come and visit us tonight. We're going to have you on again when you're ready to make your announcement. Maybe we'll have you guys on as a group, and we're going to celebrate that because it'll be a lot of fun. But thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Right on. Thanks,
Phil Givens, driver of the 0. Usually the 0. I think sometimes the 50.
If you got your head to the ground, you pretty much know what the big announcement will be. It'll be cool, but we'll be happy to help and break it here. Back to catchphrases and cheese. So our talk about young announcers, just react to what's going on. Don't spend time writing this big, I don't know, I was frustrated on the weekend watching the short track.
Here's the trouble. Some of it
It's
is
too
really
cheesy.
good. Johnny Gibson created a poem. What do you want to call it? A chant, whatever it's very good. It's powerful, but it's the perfect storm because it's the top class in dirt racing.
It's a white flag monologue.
Okay, monologue is a perfect, but it hits all the spots. I think Greg Callan did something very similar. I like what he did, but it didn't mean that everyone else had to do the same thing. Like it's not.
Well, Shane Andrews, and I guess, maybe I jumped out there because there are some of them I like. Like Shane Andrews did a great job. Greg's is iconic. Johnny Gibson. But some of them on the weekend were just bad. Just react to what you see.
Something blue off your shoe.
That's the one. Something yellow to say hello. Something red off your head. I was like, oh my goodness. Stop. It's so bad.
We don't want to critique.
There's things we don't want to critique, but there's things
go. Someone needs to step in and say, "Dude, this doesn't hit home." And same thing with the Canadian national anthem. Dude, I'm going to send you a recording of the anthem. It's not that you're singing off key; it's that you don't know the tune. You don't know the melody because he hits all the wrong notes.
Now, if we could throw people under the bus. You, myself, and the Wizard on our travels this summer have heard some horrible anthems, and we're standing there at attention just trying not to cringe. Like, what?
I have to stand on the straightaway behind these people. Dude, there was a time years ago, and bless her heart, she forgot the words. And I started singing behind her to kind of help her, and she sort of carried along. It is difficult. It's not easy to do, but it is the responsibility of a promoter to know what they're giving the microphone to. You really have to be on the ball. But I'll tell you something. I felt bad for many, many years because I don't have a catchphrase. At least I never did until the last year or two. Didn't have anything. Nothing. But I think I have my own.
DJ Kennington.
Yeah.
You got a few phrases we hear. All right. Holy moly.
Holy moly is the only thing I go to.
Yeah, we're going to get a big Adam head with holy moly on it. You can wear your shirts around the pits.
Alvers is right on. Horse track announcing is kind of what all short track announcers were modeled from for a long time. Right? Yeah. That tone, that inflection. They didn't have to shout over the noise of the horses like we do over the noise of the cars. But
We had Doug Leonard shirt. It had his saying on it a couple years ago. Okay, Orange County Fair Speedway. Short Track Super Series goes back there. A lot of turmoil, a lot of comments about Orange County Fair. Been around, over 100 years they've been racing there. They just had the Century Race, 4 years ago. So they've been at it 104 years there. But society and, urban is taking over. They're starting to encroach in on the speedway grounds. They haven't had a lot of a great surface there. Been a lot of critique for that. Still racing on Saturdays, but Adam, there were a lot of people heading down there on Sunday to catch what could be the last race at Orange County Fair Speedway. The Short Track Super Series hard clay finale on Sunday. Was that the last race at Orange County? In your opinion?
Maybe.
Obviously, we don't know.
Maybe, but I'll tell you one thing. There wasn't that many people going down there. You could have fired a cannon through those grandstands.
I believe the numbers were 56 modified, 33 sportsmen, and 26 fans were the meme report we saw. There wasn't a lot of people there. Rainouts are always tough and reschedules are rough. But they have started a petition, Show That Spencer. I gave him a screenshot of that. So the Orange County folks, preserve the historic Orange County Fair Speedway and Orange County Fair. They already got 809 signatures as of today, with 350-ish people signing today already. I don't know.
The fact
go ahead.
The fact that it's a fairground gives them a chance. It's not a subdivision.
Here's where I'm at. Okay, they've had a lot of money people through there most in the past decade, trying to keep the place alive. Once society encroaches on it enough, you can't keep it alive. You got so much urban pressure from all the houses moving in. If it's starting to come in on you, you could be doomed. And that kind of property, you could struggle and beat your head against the wall to maybe scratch out a profit if you're lucky, or you could sell it for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it's not what you want to hear.
It's not right.
But the point of my story, though, is the point of my story is the petition ain't going to do shit in the business world. It's good for your bleeding hearts, and yeah, it's great to save a speedway, and we certainly don't want to lose one. But hey, if the business of the future is already in play, it's doomed as it is. And the reason I wanted that is because I heard a lot of people that we're social with on social media that kind of I would think would be in the know, or at least get a hint, were headed down there. So I think there could be some smoke there to that fire, or fire to that smoke.
Tell me the truth. The last race at Rolling Wheels, did you think that would have been the last race?
That's not a fair assessment, because Rolling Wheels was on shaky ground for its last few years of operation with shady owners and not really getting. Now, if you're asking me, did I think the last year that Donnelly had it, would I think it would have been? No, nobody ever thought it would end. But hey, one thing I gotta say, I have to apologize to Rolling Wheels, because I always hated it. I never loved it. Everybody raved about it. Then I'm at T-Mac a couple weeks ago, and JMF throws on a day race from back in the day, and oh my goodness, what a new opinion I have of that place. So I'm obviously, I missed the glory days of it, and I got the crappy end of the stick of the races there, because it was always a dust bowl and shitty at Dirt Week when we were there. But some of the midweek stuff before was pretty awesome to watch.
There was a modified race there where I want to say Danny Johnson passed Jack Johnson at the end of it. Like, he caught him and passed him at the end. And it was just unbelievable.
All right, where are we going from here? We got something else. Okay, so High Limit comes to Fawn Unichrome. Throw those out. Brett Dale's dropping the hints today, saying the 2024 season's loading. Welcome the High Limit Series to Unichrome and Fonda. Both came out today, so obviously his association with Flow Racing is going to help foster those deals as they try and break out. Of course, the phone starts ringing here in Canada. They're close to the border. They're getting close. Well, no, they're not. I had to break some hearts again today. It's not happening. So they're just not coming to Canada, at least for this year. Neither are the Outlaws. And we're going to keep knocking on that door. But congratulations to Brett. You said, Adam, maybe we need to do a bus trip down there. That could be some interesting fun when those dates come about.
For sure. Oh, those would be great tracks to watch. Fonda's such a cool racetrack.
I'm ashamed to admit I've never been to Unichrome.
No kidding.
No, just never got there I think it was always the Saturday race, and by Saturday at Dirt Week. Or, no, it was early in the week. It was like
it was always the Tuesday race. Yeah. Yeah,
and I never left till Wednesday because of work, so I never got to go down there. And then the last couple of years when it was Oswego, I never got over there. All right, bridges down at Williams Grove. Adam, I'm not sure what prompted this. It used to be the access road to the infield. Did you see this happen?
Well, I don't know. I would assume it was an insurance company issue.
So this was the bridge. It used to cross, and I should have had it on it, but there it is, the blue bridge that crossed the backstretch at Williams Grove for years. It took you from the pits to the infield. It was just iconic. It's going off to a sprint car museum somewhere in the States or a race museum, which is cool. They're not just going to chop it up and throw it away. Imagine all the stars and all the amazing fans that have made their way across that bridge over the years. I got to say, my first year announcing with the Super Dirt Car Series when Shane Andrews left, that was my first event. Doug Leonard and I drove down to Williams Grove, and it was pretty cool. Like, to be there with the Super Dirt Car Series, filling in, in Shane's shoes and crossing that bridge with my backpack on it was almost one of those just lifetime moments where you stop and you take it all in. You're like, holy crap, man, I'm here on the bridge at Williams Grove getting paid to be here. It was a cool deal. So sad to see it go. I don't know, maybe they're going to throw in the tunnel like Port Royal did. So,
No, Mike says they're building a new one.
Awesome. It's iconic. I mean, how can you have Williams Grove without the classic bridge? Last one I got for you on the rundown, then we can chat for a few more minutes, is the Griswold helmet. Have you seen this one, Adam? Did you look at it in the chat? All right, check this one out. It's right up your alley. So someone made a holiday Christmas vacation helmet. How's that?
That's pretty cool.
I figured you'd like that one, since it's one of your favorite movies.
It's a classic. It is
Good
a
call.
classic. In some sadder news, Clinton, this was awful because we knew that Bone Longboat had some health challenges on the go, but I thought he was getting through it. Like, I just, get it together. We look forward to having you back at the racetrack, and took a turn for the worse there in the last month or so, and passed
I'm going
away.
to read a message here. So last August, fans, I think, were on this show asking where Bone Longboat was, or it could have been on the racing chat, on the live chat during the Friday stream. So I messaged him. I said, fans want to know, are you getting your car fixed? He said, I'm in no shape to be racing. They found a tumor. It's as big as a small soccer ball. Just waiting on my surgery date now. If everything goes well, I'll be back next year for sure. So tell my fans I missed them and to wish me luck on my upcoming surgery. Thanks for thinking about me. It means the world to me. Man, I'm getting choked up thinking about it because he was such a cool dude. I said, okay, will do. Hope you feel better. And then, about a week ago, we saw it from his brother Dustin that Bone got sick. He didn't want anybody to know. And at the end of the day, we lost Bone. So sad to say, big loss in the Oswegan community. And just what a great attitude and spirit he had.
He loved racing so much. Like, look at that car, Clinton. It is not a showpiece, but he was making it faster and faster all the time. Anytime you interviewed him, he was just pumped up to be there, so positive on racing. And, we'll miss him for sure.
Yeah, I messaged his brother. I said, hey, man, just want to say all of us at the track are sorry to hear about Bone. He was a great character, and we will definitely miss having him around. Take care of your family. He said, thanks so much, Clinton. I'll be back next year to race in his memory. So we're excited to have Dustin come back and race Bone's car. Dustin certainly looked up to Bone. They were our pure stock racers back in the day when we had it in the infield oval, and now have moved on to the mini stock. So sad to see Bone, and our thoughts go to the family. A lot of folks from Oswegan showed up at the funeral last week, and so that was a great showing of support from the Speedway folks. So I know the family definitely appreciated that. Where are we going to go from there, Adam? So some of the ideas I have for the next week's show, Brad Sweet, maybe we could shoot for. Stuart Friesen, Rico Abreu from the dirt side were a few I was thinking about. Kenny Wallace, maybe we could try and get him on. Schrader, possibly, but we've had Schrader.
Yeah, it's got to be something that's fun. We don't do a lot of.
One of our number one fans and buddies here, Robbie Longbow, has been up my butt for a year now to get Thomas Meserole on the show. So we could get T-Mez on next week. I'm pretty sure of that. And I would kind of saving that till we get into midget season because he'd be a great guy to have up around Chili Bowl. But maybe show 200, we bring on one of the dirt superstars from the back end. Cole Pern, Adam, you could probably roll up Cole Pern for us. We'll get to work on it. Glenn Stiers, I could probably get Glenn on for a bit too. Yeah, it could be pretty cool. If we get Wallace on, we'll need 3 hours. So yeah, true.
Well,
about
we might
that.
go a little long. We might go a little long next week. We'll do what we have to do. But,
We have
yeah.
The Schweeken banquet is Friday. 650-ish people going to be there. It's like having 2 small weddings in one night. It's crazy. Someone asked a question. Mike Kerr, Canadian Sprint International is paying $20K for sure. Oh yeah, we're working on some big stuff for Schweeken. So hang tight, folks. We're waiting for that NASCAR announcement tomorrow, so we can start unveiling a couple things. Anyways, at least you'll know when the NASCAR date is.
I need something to look forward to, man. I haven't felt good the last week or so. Just it might be the cold, but just the time of year.
Spencer, you have the Office meme? Put that up. This is what I sent in. This is Adam. When it's Saturday, but the race season over, so you're just at home like eating cheese balls, bored up my head.
Yep.
That was actually
me out.
The leftover Halloween cheesies.
We go from being so busy. You don't have time to think. You just, okay, where am I at this weekend? Okay, where am I at next weekend? What day do I need to do laundry to have this stuff ready to go? And repeat over and over again. And I love it so much. Like I live for it, Clint. And then you get to the winter.
I like to have like a couple weeks off, but then, we were talking about today, I need something to work forward to. So it'll go by fast enough. That's what happens when we get old. Some great names: Ron Fellows, Cole Butcher. We'll add them all to the list. We'll see how many people we can get on. John Brush is a good story. I mean, what a cool dude John is. We've got to get him on. He's like the wizard, though. He doesn't want to be on camera. He don't even want us to talk about his checks that he give us. He don't want to advertise. He's just a fan. John calls me literally twice a week and asks me what he can sponsor. He's just that cool, So, what else you got, Adam? Anything else you want to talk about before we disappear?
Nothing that jumps out at me. I know Connor's been working at making some plans, my son, on what he wants to do next year. So that'll be fun to see that come together. And he's been working hard, so I think he's going to be able to pay his own bills. That'll be exciting. And I'm just...
You couldn't talk him out of it?
You know what? You got to do it. I'll tell you something, Clinton. I don't mean to be a downer. When I raced back in 99, 2000, 2001, when I stopped racing, my life changed a lot. Like my overall, like I just lived for racing. That's what I wanted to do. And it was a big adjustment. And I didn't race that. I was no big deal, but I was at least doing it. I was so hot and bothered to do it. And when I didn't anymore, it was a big difference. So if he wants to do that, go do it, man. Now's the time.
I had my kids in micro sprints, both of them, and as soon as they said we're getting out, I sold that stuff so fast and taught them a skill at the racetrack. I'm like, Kenzie, you run transponders, Jack, you're on camera. Other people are going to race, and we're going to make money.
and if he didn't want to, I was super with it, right? Like I don't care what you do. Work at the track, be an announcer, we'll go work for Clint, go do what he wants to drive race cars.
So it won't be Daddy's money anymore. It's going to be Connor's money.
That's right.
Right on.
That's right. Otherwise, not a lot going on. It's a time of year I kind of bury my head in the sand a little bit because the rumor mill starts to churn, but there's a lot of inaccurate rumors. So
I guess I'm the same way because you even said to me, "Are you okay today?" Because you said I've been short and haven't really been very chatty. Yeah, it's just kind of back up into the bushes like Homer a little bit and get off the scene.
Oh, you pissed in my cornflakes hard earlier this week in our chat group. Hey, who do you want for guest? Who'd be a big deal? That's who you consider a big deal? I'm going, screw you. Find your own guess.
Yeah, the Ash Weekend Banquet will be live. Aren't we going to be live, Wizard?
Cool.
So watch around 7:30ish Friday, I think. We're going to try and get things rolling
So,
a bit earlier, so.
can we have the banquet up on the screens in the room? Or is that not going to happen?
Yeah, we'll
It
talk to
threw me
Spence
off
about that.
It threw me off when it didn't happen last year. Like, hey, we're supposed to be up on the walls, and we weren't. Like, I was going to watch myself.
Yeah, we'll work that out. Steven's question, will we be covering APC again next season? We definitely hope to. We actually have meetings with the higher-ups tomorrow. So, it's certainly our goal, and it's certainly their goal. So, we expect to be there, I guess is the short of it. Anything
Yeah,
else,
there's been
Adam?
some. Not really. It's we're getting towards the end of the year, and it blows my mind. There were some big things happen this year, Clinton. Like our sprint cars on TSN, dirt modifieds on TSN, Rev TV, weekly national television. There was some really neat stuff that happened at the races this year, and I'm worried that we didn't celebrate it enough because it got some big time exposure, and it looked great. Like we went to some places that looked phenomenal on camera. Like I thought Peterborough looked lights out on camera. Flamborough shoots very well. I don't even know why. I just like the way it looks.
I don't know. I think it's Daniel paints our cameras so good with the colors adjustments that he does. Because, I mean, we're outside, and I took 10 paces into the trailer somewhere, and I'm like, man, it is way darker out there than these cameras look. So they do show very well. Yeah, we had a good time. I mean, look what we've done. We've been all over the country, and that's the cool thing. We get to kind of kick ourselves in the ass on those early Saturday 6:00 mornings when we're dragging ass after a late Osh weekend night. We're like, what do we got to bitch about? We're getting paid by the biggest sports company in the country to fly over to cover the biggest sports, race in the world. Well, sports racing company in the world, NASCAR. Either way, fun, good times all around. We still got
Life is
200
grand.
next year, though. Next week, though, 200 show should be a lot of fun.
I didn't watch that practice session, Dan, the sprint cars at Sonoma. But and we'll have to bring this up through the offseason. I have been watching more podcasts. I've been watching the Pat McAfee show and picking up some really cool things from other sports that we're going to have to incorporate. But folks, thanks for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We appreciate you being here each and every Tuesday.
Speaking of that, just before you go, along those lines, I caught 2 Gary Kloop podcasts this week. I watched the John Fletcher one start to back and the Jared Fitzpatrick one start to back. If you're a short track fan here in Ontario and like the pavement stuff, both have great stories. I didn't know all this stuff about either of them. I learned a lot about Fletcher too. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I never knew he grew up under Junior Hanley and all that stuff. It's crazy the history you pick up with these guys. So just a cool thing to do. And I think for next week's show, do you see what the NBA is doing? They're having a tournament of real games that count, but it's not deciding the championship. It's a mid-season tournament. So they're having almost like the Final Four. It counts, but I don't know. You don't like that idea? Think about that one for next week.
Clint, no. Think about it for last week. That's what you put on the rundown for me last week. The in-season tournament. And you were asking me just before we went on, what's the deal with this? Why are we talking about this? Because it's something that they're doing that's different, but it's really cool because
okay, so you're laughing because it was your point and I didn't pay attention to it. But you like the idea, just to be sure.
But now it's a great idea because you said so. We agree. I'm laughing because we agree, and you clearly don't listen to anything that I say.
Clinton, did you see the helmet? Right. Did you see the Griswold helmet? I put it in there on Tuesday, Dick. You didn't see it all day, so you don't pay attention either. All right?
We're a perfect couple. I wouldn't have it any other way.
We were friendly. Now I don't want to talk to you. End the show, Spencer.
Perfect.
2 Christmases. See you guys.